Yo, we're back. Hello, guys.
All
I
Last
don't
time I
right.
believe it.
saw you live was in Holland. Hello, everyone. We are back. We returned from the Kabi retreat in Holland and are back in the spaceship. Good to see everybody. You guys back in Israel. I'm back in the
Mm.
US. Hello to all the wonderful friends that we met. We got to hug, we got to have meals with, sing by the campfire, talk about the meaning of life, and
How long ago
create
was
with
that?
all.
Like 6 months, 5 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like a year at least, huh? It's like
Crazy.
I hope.
Yeah.
Speaking
So
of, I hope our TGT friends and viewers are, yeah, they're coming in. They're trickling in. Okay, I hope they didn't forget that we're still doing this. I think this is the longest hiatus we've been on since we started this show, right? Like a couple
Mm.
of years ago,
Hmm.
probably.
how long's the high?
Anyway,
We haven't been here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
no,
I think it
it's
was
like
three,
it's a month. It's a
three
month.
or four.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because we
Maybe three
didn't
weeks. Yeah,
broadcast before the retreat also.
yeah,
Right. So if you were there, you know what we mean, that it feels like already it was a year ago because you go through so many states. We're
yeah.
also preparing for another retreat, which will be in North America in September. So if you're around, if you're in this
Yes.
hemisphere, or if you are into traveling, we'll be here. Guys, we are going to dive into today uh, an incredible book, but a book's really not a book. Book's not just a book in the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's like a living portal, uh, but a book from the future, written to us, written for us from someone far, far in the future, when already all of the things we're going through transpired. It's like if you see an old person who's about to trip and fall, and you're like, you
Hmm.
know, why? You're like, or like a slow motion, like if like the glass was falling off the table, you're like, but you already know what's going to happen. You know the sound. You know you're going to have to get the broom. Like you already know
Hmm.
what's going to happen. And he wrote from a place where the thing already played out. Like when the glass is falling off the table, you guys have had this experience, right? Where like something's happening and it feels like it's slow motion, right? It's
Yeah,
not
Sure.
just
yeah.
me
Oh,
that's had
with
this
with the
experience. Okay.
kids, and it's interesting. You see it a lot with
Like
your
if your kid is,
kids, because things they're about to do, or they're about to make something fall or fall by themselves, or like just something, or even when they're going to fight. Like I can tell. Especially, this is something Ali and I are dealing with recently. I mean, the my boy is what is he now? 12. Yeah, 12, moving towards 13. Bar mitzvah age.
Good old
Um,
puberty.
and then the middle one, she is 9.5 or so. So there's a lot going on there in terms of discovering all kinds of dynamics between them, and how that all happens with their relationship with us, their parents. So you can really see kind of like, it's interesting in this context now that I'm thinking about it, because the Kabbalist looks at human beings, and he can tell, understanding their development, how they're gonna fight, and what kind of regimes can happen between the kids, who's gonna
Mhm.
take advantage of who, things like that. And now that I'm thinking about it, as a parent, you totally see it on your kids. If you're attentive, kind of what's coming, and
and you know how the
yeah.
That upper
retaliation
level view.
occurs. Yeah. What'd you say?
The upper level, the view of the from the upper level.
And
That's
now I know
Yeah.
that you're drinking meat tea. I didn't know that before. I thought you were just drinking
right. This
coffee tea.
just
But
happens to
now
be
that I was
coffee.
with you, oh, that's just coffee. So Chris drinks some kind of beef something. Okay.
It was
Um.
broth.
Oh, the
So
broth, the,
you
the
also know
bone
what
broth.
kind of retaliation is going to occur,
Yeah.
right? And you know which one's going to tattle, and then this one runs to tattle first, but this one actually hit first, and you know the whole thing. But as Kabbalists, as adults, it's different than a glass. There should be some difference in our life than a glass falling off the table, or it should be different than just two. siblings, 12 and 9, fighting. We should have a
Yeah.
different, we should be able to see what's happening and then already understand it and be able to change our behavior now according to what we understand and arrive at something
Al-
else. So,
We should be.
Also,
We should be.
we should be the also. I mean, the if the kids don't play well, they'll play better next time. When adults don't play well, this could be atomic war. So yeah.
okay.
Good
So on
news
the,
is if it is a sorry, sorry, I just heard Neil deGrasse Tyson mention this that if we use like the legacy atom bombs, then you do need to worry about nuclear fallout. But if you use a hydrogen bomb, that actually is not the case. You just don't want to get blasted.
So you're
good
saying
news.
hydrogen bomb is not that bad? That's Oh man, both are. Interestingly, HaSulam mentions specifically both
He does.
atom bomb and hydrogen bombs.
In the
Anyway,
same book
in the same
that we're
book,
talking
yeah.
about. So,
Yes.
all right, let's look at the unique perspective of the Kabbalist. On the other side of so Baal HaSulam is writing to us. He's told us this book. He said, imagine it's coming from 10,000 years in the future after you've already gone through all your mistakes and everything. This is how everything's going to turn out. On the other hand, what do humans have to do? On the other hand, let's take like Charles Darwin for example. On the other hand, humans just have to test every single thing and let it play out. So Charles Darwin had this evolutionary theory. So he says, okay, which ones are going to compete, which ones are going to survive, and then which ones are going to procreate. And in order to actually study that, he had to like go to a place. So
Mm-hmm.
he came from England, right? He went to the Galapagos Islands, right? That was like
Yeah,
his
didn't he
big
start
thing.
with birds? I think he started with
I
with
think on the
birds. Yeah.
Galapagos Islands. So
Mm-hmm.
to get to from England took him years, and he was in his early 20s. To
Right.
get from England to the Galapagos Islands, you had to go. He went like down Africa, then across the Atlantic, then down the eastern side of South America, Brazil, and all that around South America, up the western side of South America, and then out
Mm.
into the Pacific Ocean over there to the Galapagos Islands. Imagine in the 1800s taking a couple of years to
Yeah.
get there, then studying the birds, developing this theory. I'm sure he had plenty of time to talk,
Mm-hmm.
to think. He died right around when Baal HaSulam was born. So Baal HaSulam was born around 1900, like 1880, something like that. So Darwin died at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, if we're
so
already into like history and scientific findings, it's interesting with regards to Darwin that what his big theory, of course, the origin of species, and how like humanity's evolved from the primates and everything. The RE already said it 300 years before him. So that
Ooh.
just I mean, he just kind of wrote
okay,
it. So
but let's
that but
one thing at a
we're
time.
we're in
One
we're
thing at
in
a
the
time.
business of Kabbalists, being able to sort of understand where evolution
Beat
is
him to the
headed.
punch.
So it kind of ties in my mind. You just
So
mentioned Darwin.
there
That's
is
where it
there is
came
some
from.
there is
Yeah.
something in the wisdom of Kabbalah that in the past a Kabbalist had to learn like the seven wisdoms of the world, for example, like math and art and all these things. And why? Because once you start to learn how it's like if you have a child, like an infant, the infant has to like touch things and move things and see experiences in
Yeah.
order to build inside of it impressions of how the world is operating. Like you understand that you can put a cup down like on the table. It's not so clear like can I put it on a pillow? Like if I put it on a pillow and I want it to balance and not fall, like where on the pillow do I need to put it? Like all
Mm-hmm.
of these different things that you just like start all these
Yeah.
impressions that you get about how the world works. So by a Kabbalist learning art, learning math, he started to get impressions of how the system works. And then when you start studying the spiritual books, you understand the mechanisms. In our generation, we already have this all imprinted in us. Like you give a kid an iPhone today or a smartphone today, he already understands how it works. Like we already have all these impressions. But Bala Sulam still in the olden days, like even as he was a Kabbalist, he went back to Europe. He was already living in Israel. He went back to Europe into where there was this like secular revolution going on to be amongst the people. He learned about the type of governments, the type of ideas that people had as the young people were getting disillusioned by religion and wanted to have like social equity and whatever these things mean. He was or what it means to build these kind of communal developments, because in the past, one guy owned the land, everyone paid taxes to him, or one government controlled everything, and these ideas started to sprout. They didn't just pop up on the campus of NYU, a few months ago. These ideas of people saying, well, shouldn't everybody have enough, and all that. And so he went and he um, integrated himself with that, and this combination. And what that allowed him to do was to be able to write in a language that people like normal, like not just in a language of outer space. Because if you're writing a book from 10,000 years into the future, it's hard to
Yeah.
understand because everybody, I saw a message today with a teenager. I'm in a chat group with my kids and some other family members, and someone wrote W Thursday. I didn't know like this means like, Chris, does it mean we win, like good Thursday, like it means good or something like that? A W means, I don't know.
Dub.
It's shorthand
You're
for something.
asking Chris
So
as the most
I
the
thought
most
Chris says the
credible
youngest amongst
person.
us.
I am the youngest. Thank you. I should have just gone with
Chris,
it. I
can
could
you
give you
please
anything.
translate?
You could have fooled us
Yeah, you're right.
easily. You could have made it look like you know what it's about. Yeah.
Okay, but for example, like if you like oh, that's bad, like bad meant good in the
Hmm.
80s. So like
Yeah.
you have to have
Right.
some kind of
Oh yeah.
colloquial language to
Right.
share with the people in
Right.
order
So today
to
we say about
communicate with them.
something that's awesome, we say it's sick, or
Or
Right.
if it's
it's like
batshit,
yeah.
then it's crazy. If it's horseshit, then it's bad quality.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you wanted to communicate to someone, we have these this condition that nature gives us, that we have to um, equalize ourselves with it on some level, even if we already know, even if Bala Sulam already sees the future, the requirement of nature. And maybe we should talk a little bit about why that is, because all of nature needs to rise to that level. And how does this process happen where the one who's
Hmm.
already there has to lower himself back down to kind of equalize with everything? Um, so I think that's kind of where I wanted to set it up, that you have these two um, processes, this Darwin process coming from like the ground up, and then Bala Sulam's approach where he already reaches, sees how everything will be after all the wars. Because right now, what's happening? What's happening with all of us, guys? I know that this intro is taking quite a while, and stop me if it's necessary. But what's happening now is there's no one out there calling for peace. Everyone's out there calling for war. Like, how long does this go on? How long do we keep killing each other? You were just
Hmm.
singing Bob Marley as we were setting up. How long do they kill our prophets? I always think
How
like, how
long do
long
they
does
kill our prophets? Yeah.
how long does the
Hmm.
bullshit go on until everyone? What does it take
Hmm.
until we all change our hearts?
Right.
They're
Right.
wanting to know what book then. What book is it then?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we should kind of just we came straight into the show like because we're like these days we're like into this text with our teacher in the last week or so, right? But maybe let's share with our viewers who are not familiar just a little bit more about what this is. Yeah, like what this text. We said
Yeah,
Bala Sulam. Maybe
it's
people
actually not
don't even
even.
know who that is.
it-
Yeah.
It's well, I mean, maybe you can
It's
tell
technically
us
a
because
draft. It was
yeah,
technically a
right. It's not
draft.
even like a published. Yeah, go. So let's go, please. Let's tell them. And if someone doesn't know who
Well,
Bala Salam is, maybe
well,
let's.
first of all, yeah. First of all, this is what we're studying now, kind of with our teacher. And the question, first of all, is you kind of have to set it up as why. And you kind of did set it up. Why are we studying this? First of all, it's a book. It's a draft, I guess you could say, by Baal Salam, the preeminent Kabbalist in the early 19th century, in the early 20th century, and it's called The Last Generation, which is kind of a different tone that he has in this writing that he wrote, as opposed to all the other ones. He wrote Talmud Sefirot. He also wrote the interpretation on the Zohar, and this is kind of something that he got to at the end of his life, kind of like the very end where he saw. And we'll read a little passage that kind of puts it into perspective a little bit of what state the world was in, what state he was in when he wrote it. But essentially, and we should probably read the editor's note, and I think we should at least read a little bit of the editor's note about how what our organization went through in order to prepare this text. So, for example, the manuscript that we have, which we have this manuscript in our archive. So all of the books that we read, there's an original copy to them. And so we also have this original, but when we first received it, it was just kind of spread everywhere. It was handwritten. The text was difficult to read. Some words were missing. So a lot of effort went into compiling everything, putting it in order, trying to figure out, if something wasn't clear, how do we verify it with other sources? So there's a whole team that went into taking this manuscript and putting it into something that's readable and a flow that also works. And so this was about 20 years ago when this whole, when the whole process began. And actually, there's some parts which have not made it out into the light of day, which I guess we're waiting for that to happen. But just very particular, very strict, going line by line, just cleaning up the text essentially. And now, so what is he writing about? He's writing about the last generation.
And these writings weren't just before you continue. These writings weren't in anyone's hands before that. I mean, he wrote it about 80, 90 years ago, right, at the end of his life. Then his son, right, kept it. His son and successor, our teacher's teacher, and only then, some 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, these writings,
which is crazy.
It's very, very, and as you said, our teacher also holds, Kabbalist Dr. Michael Leitman holds some more of these manuscripts in his archive, and
we'll see.
We'll see.
We're not ready. I guess you can say we're not ready.
Yeah.
But I kind of do want to read a little bit of the editor's note. Maybe I can pull it up in a second. But basically, you know what? Let me just talk about it a little bit here. While I'm pulling this up, I'll say that this is so fast, this search. So I'm just gonna kind of skim it a little bit. Should I share this? Maybe I will. Maybe I will share this actually.
Up to you.
And then we'll kind of, can you see this?
Yep.
This is the editor's note. So here's the last generation.
See it well. Yeah.
So these are stored in our archive, it's saying, and the publication process was complicated due to the density of the text. So they're basically saying, here's what we did, before you even start reading it. And they're saying how they marked it, right? So they divided it into 5 parts: an introduction, and then there's the way that it was ordered together is also done by us. And so we should understand that, it wasn't published like this, right? So, you have appendices, drafts in different parts of the last generation. But why is it called the last generation? Because he's basically, and why did Seth say this is a book from 10,000 years in the future? Because it's talking about the state of the world, the type of people that are living, the values that people will have in the future in order to live in a society that works. Right now, we could look at society and say that it doesn't work. So here we have someone who, and Seth did this great kind of intro and built it up and showed how important the difference between having someone from the ground up and having someone tell us about the world from the future. And so it's very powerful because it tells us where we're headed and also kind of the form that we need to take on when we get there. And so we figured, listen, let's take it out. Let's take it. We're studying it now. So let's also take it to our viewers and start feeling it, taking it, picking it apart, feeling where we where
At
are we
least the
headed? Where are we
introduction.
going? And
At
that's it.
least the introduction.
Yeah, I'll start with the
Let,
introduction.
let me let me just even make it more complicated before we even get into the topic itself. Um, so long before I came to the wisdom of Kabbalah, I remember having a conversation with a few friends, and one of the guys was like, even if Jesus came back, like I wouldn't believe it was him. I wouldn't believe him. Like so. Imagine the guy comes back, some guy comes back, half the world would not believe it anyway.
Hmm.
So it's an
Yeah,
example.
same
But here
situation.
you have Baal HaSulam, and he reached the things that he attained. Those who are studying his sources already have a sensation. You don't need to. I mean, the proof is in the pudding for those who are already in it. Um, but he comes and brings it. But there's another problem we have because, like, my son said to me, he said, who lives in DC, he's like, did you guys see what the president of El Salvador, this guy came in and he said every single one of the every single person in the executive branch of the government is under investigation now. Anyone who
I didn't see
is
that. This
is
is this
being
is a new
He's the
arrested.
most
thing.
popular politician in the whole world now.
You've seen this?
No,
You
Oh
see what I'm
yeah,
I
talking
yeah.
about?
haven't. It's interesting.
He's
Oh,
doing
okay.
great
It's
stuff.
interesting what you're saying.
Yeah. So
I
it's
didn't
like
see it.
what's going
It's
on in
now. It's
Argentina,
like
but it's
something
like,
that okay.
yeah. It's kind of, like this guy Millie in Argentina now who like,
Yes.
yeah, so it's the
So
same kind of thing. This guy from El Salvador comes in. He took all the gang members, just threw them all in prison. Every corrupt person, just like threw them all in prison. Any corruption in the government, I don't know too much about it, but just. So my kid said, like, why don't you just, why doesn't someone come to America and just say, like, um, here, this will make everything better. But you know what happened in America? That person would be shot in a day or like suicided or something else would happen. So even
Wow.
if Baal Islam comes and brings the solution right to you and says, this is the problem, here's the solution, the next, complication is how to accept it and to, even if you're promised this is the right thing, how to accept it and
Hmm.
carry it out.
Yeah. How do you hear it?
So
Should
now,
we
with
read
all of
the?
these troubles, Chris, let's turn to Asaf for
Are
answers.
you gonna read? Are you gonna read the beginning of this, Asaf? Just the
I'm
first like
gonna.
paragraph,
Okay, I
or at
chose.
least?
I chose a few moments from the introduction that I think are good for our viewers and for us to jam on. Um, yeah, let's just start. So here's one. Okay, we're just diving into
Show
it. Yeah.
us.
So can you see this? Yeah. Okay, so this is
Yeah.
again something from the writings of the last generation, where he goes later on. He goes deeply into the structure of human society and everything, but everything starts from here. This is one of the first paragraphs. He says, "Look, the essence of the wisdom of Kabbalah is the knowledge of how the world came down from its elevated heavenly place until it reached our ignoble state. This reality was necessary, as the end of an act is in the preliminary thought, and his thought acts instantaneously, for he needs no tools to work with as we do. Thus, we were emanated in Ein Sof, infinity, in utter perfection from the start, and from there we came to this world." Now, even if not all of this is clear to you, if this is the first time you're hearing this kind of language, essentially what this Kabbalist is telling us is this. He says, look, there is a wisdom that has knowledge. You can challenge it, you can look into it, you can test it for yourself, you can learn it. It's not, you don't have to just believe it. You can study it and see for yourself if it makes sense to you. There is a wisdom that actually has the knowledge of how this world came to be and what's it for. And he writes that at the beginning of what he calls the writings of the last generation, which are where he's going to go into what is the formula for what we need to go through, what we need to aim for if we want to build a perfect society, if we want to build a society that actually works. He starts there. He starts from saying, uh, um, there's a knowledge about where are we, what are we doing here. And this is mind blowing if you think about it, because even just by starting there, only by starting there, this is essentially what he's telling us here. Only by starting from understanding why we are here in the first place, what is human society doing on planet Earth, and where is it headed, only by knowing that, we can understand what is happening to us now. And otherwise we have no idea why we're here and where we're going. Obviously, we're not going to do anything right.
Right. The Darwin thing was like, let's study how everything evolved to now to know where it's going. And then HaSulam is kind of turning the whole thing inside out. He's like giving you the right.
Yeah, he basically says, look, you want to make a better world? First, understand what this world is doing here in the first place. No, that's a question that you can't even, you can think about it philosophically, artistically, religiously, but he says, no, there's a knowledge. There is an actual knowledge about how this world came to be, where it came from, what for, and where it's going. And if you want to understand how to make this world better, just start there. That's where you have to start. Why? I would add here something that we'll probably touch upon this soon. This is also in the introduction. Because otherwise, we are like beaten animals. I mean, essentially, what we are doing our entire life is just like any other animal, avoiding pain, trying to find pleasure. That's essentially what the human being is doing, and that's why we create better technology, and we try to change our social structures, and we try to vote for a different politician, and we try to change our fashion, and we try. All of that is just, many different manifestations of the same dynamic working inside every person and every animal too. Just finding how to avoid more pain as much as possible and how to get as much pleasure as possible. And we're only being, if that's the only way by which we evolve, then we're only being pushed by evolutionary forces. He's saying, look, there is a thought. He says the end of the act is in the preliminary thought. That's what we just read. There is a thought that precedes this world, and we have to study it in order to understand what we're supposed to do in this world. This is a revolution in human thinking about how to improve society, how to improve the world, how to improve life.
Otherwise, it's just a guess, right? Otherwise,
exactly.
It's just a guess. We're just guessing.
It's a guess based on this wasn't really great. Let's try something else. Oh, this doesn't really work. Let's try something else.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying like a beaten animal. We're like, oh, we got to figure out how to make air condition. It's warm. It's too hot. Okay, we'll make air conditioner. Oh, we gotta figure out what to do. Now we're thinking about going to Mars because things are so bad here, and Musk has all kinds of ideas about rockets and how to make them reusable. Let's think about going to Mars. There's all kinds of things we can come up with, but none of them comes from the knowledge of why we're put here, where we came from, and where we're going. No one has that. No one even, is ambitious enough to suggest researching that. In
Or
our
say it
time,
confidently enough.
yeah. There's more in that paragraph we read. There was a sentence there. Again, the end of the act is in the preliminary thought. This is just trying to get to the bottom of what he's saying here. Essentially, he says there is a thought that holds inside of it everything that can ever happen in this world. All of space, all of time, all of it exists in some preliminary thought. This thought is already complete, but we perceive it in fragments. And we call those fragments moments of life in space and time, right? But all of them are bunched together, and all of reality exists from the beginning to the end, like a complete book, right? From the beginning to the end. It just depends on what page are you reading right now, you know. So that's like this is such a revolution in thinking. And the crazy thing is, I've never seen, show me please, anyone, I'm turning to our viewers to show me something, you know. I've never seen someone who or some text that has this kind of discussion, lofty, spiritual, beyond this world, non-material, but also, this is the crazy thing, in the continuation of the text, you see him talking about very, very specific directions about how society is built and what kind of people make up humanity and what is human nature and what are the different social structures that we've tried so far, and what we think we've tried and what we haven't tried. So it's not just some airy fairy, you know, kind of like lofty talk about some thought above the clouds that somewhere. He's really bringing it down in his writings.
The details are there.
Yeah. So
You
yeah, you
can't
know.
you can't legislate world peace into existence. You know, you
Right.
can't make
Yeah.
all these laws that everyone's going to be nice to each other and no one's going to steal and everyone's going to do this and I'm going to divide all the money and we're going to do all that and we're going to do it inevitably just turns into fascism or police state or whatever it is. So in order to get, but like you just mentioned, once you do get to these elevated levels of how society exists together, there are structures. It's not just like jello when it comes to structure. There are structures, but if you tried to take that form of how people get along, what they like, for example, like with your kids and things like that, you're not with you want to give your kids everything. But if you're legislated by someone to give someone else something, it's different. So you take that final form where everyone loves each other and takes care of each other and shares all the resources. No one's
Whoa, whoa,
trying to
whoa,
hurt
whoa,
each other.
whoa.
What?
Cares for one
No,
another,
no.
loves
Well,
one
listen, the
another.
final form has to be, let's not even get into the text too much. The final form has to be that we're not all lying, cheating, stealing to each other all
Yeah.
day. So let's
Yeah.
not define yet
Hmm.
what the final form is, but let's say that we don't have to be thinking that everyone's trying to screw us over all the time and all our food is filled with poisons and the youth are being alienated from their parents and and all of our leaders are just spending billions of dollars on bombs. Let's say
While they're
we
lying
don't
through
know
their
exactly.
teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, so we say
Hmm.
we don't exactly know what the future is going to be, but it's definitely not going to be what this is. So let's say there's some
Right.
kind of good thing. The
It's supposed to be
point is though,
hopeful.
you can't just take that form of whatever, even if you could imagine how great it could be, you couldn't legislate that into existence
Yeah.
today. Like it has
Yeah.
to the people also have to um
Change.
change
Mm-hmm.
as well because you can see the form
Mm-hmm.
and then you also need to kind of equalize with the form
Hmm.
as
And
so it's a lot to put
uh,
we probably just could even put more things on the table
okay,
now
if we're just throwing things on the table, I'll throw another one.
because
The
it's so
the
it's so big and for us to now cavalierly talk about what it's going to be like when world peace reigns, it's kind of a big leap. So maybe we
right.
can just keep putting things out on the table and
Oh, okay, so I think one more thing that is crucial to properly approach such a text, you know, and such an idea that there can be some guidelines towards a perfect society. How can that be? What makes you a Kabbalist smarter than others? And how can that even be? Right? Like how is it possible that there are some guidelines, that there are some conditions or some, let's say, configuration by which human society can work? You know,
Right. According to what?
yeah, according to what? And this is a big thing. The big thing is that's the difference that, you know, in thinking that Kabbalah really enables us to experience. we humans are part of nature. We're not, we don't see human society and human engagements and human activity as part of nature, but we're also part of nature. And if you look at nature, there are structures that make an organism survive. There are structures that make, relationship between cells, between groups of cells, inside elements, inside ecosystems. There are configurations that make life work. And we are part of nature's living system. We're not outside of it. And what the Kabbalist is basically saying, look, if we understand where nature is pushing us to evolve, then we can kind of move there instead of being pushed by the forces of evolution. We can start aiming towards that. And that's where the knowledge comes from, and that's why it makes sense. It's not some, oh, I have an idea, I have a dream, like other great people, maybe great leaders even have said. It's not I have a dream. It's not or imagine all that people. No, that's not where the Kabbalist is coming from. The Kabbalist is coming from a deep, profound understanding of nature, and how there is a structure at the bottom of nature that makes it work. And we humans ultimately will have to find that structure and live by it as well. That's a big thing for human beings to understand. Even if we don't know what that structure is, what is the configuration of human society that will work, we need to understand there is one in nature, and we're evolving towards that. Just that change of thinking is already a big deal, a huge deal.
And also, yeah, it's huge. And also, we've come on this show many times before, and we're talking about spirituality. And when we say Kabbalah, we're, sometimes mention creator and what other kind of weird, religious sounding words that we, can sometimes throw around. And here it's also kind of, this is why this text also stands out, because it's talking about how to arrange society, which is way different. We don't really study about how to arrange society when we're usually talking about myself. I'm corrupted, so how do I fix myself? And then maybe I'll be exposed to this force that created me, and I'll have some kind of relationship with it. Like, there's that aspect of the wisdom of Kabbalah, and there's also another aspect, which is apparently something like founded on what's called the last generation, where we're striving to build society a certain way. So it's just kind of it's like a different feel, different taste.
Taste. But you know what? The actually, if we want to relate this to spiritual development, there is another. I have like 2 or 3 more quotes, but there is one specifically that I think touches on this. That could be a good place to go.
So let's hear.
Yeah,
might as well now. I guess.
I think
Seth. No,
Seth
okay.
had a yeah. Let's go there. Okay. Just give me a second to find it. There. Yeah. There we go. I think that's it. Okay. So check this out. So here's another one from the writings of the last generation. This is again somewhere in the introduction. We can't read the whole text here on the show, but so here's an excerpt that will help us, I think, tie this to spiritual development. Why aiming for a perfect society, a social structure that works, how that has to do with spiritual development of the human being. So he writes this: it is therefore very easy to find all the future corrections which are destined to come from the perfect worlds that preceded us. So there is such a thing as worlds that preceded us, meaning states of development that are higher, that are more advanced, and they actually are the origin of our more broken state. And what we have to do is study them to learn how to rise to those more perfect states. So through this, we know how to correct our ways henceforth, like man's advantage over the beast. This is where I think we can tie it to spiritual development. For the spirit of the beast descends, meaning sees only from itself onward, without the intellect or wisdom to look into the past so as to correct the future. So here's how I would
Wisdom of Kabbalah has so
approach
many of
this.
these
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
fundamental nuggets. We should like
Yeah.
package them and just like give them out in a PDF. Like if you just took like these 5 things, you would understand life like more than 99% of the people around you.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay. So this wisdom, he tells us here, allows us, because it talks about the structures, the perfect structures that have preceded the our existence in this world, and how they created this broken situation that we have to um, rise from. We rise back up. This is an essential thing to understand. Our development here is not random and going nowhere or somewhere or anywhere. No, we are going back up, so to speak, from states of perfection that preceded us. We just had no consciousness in those states. And now we're developing our consciousness as we are working to correct our ways and rise back up. So this wisdom allows us to aim ourselves, in simpler words, to where nature is pushing us anyway. That's the big thing. And this, he says, is the whole difference between man and animals. Because, you know, what's an animal? It's just looking for the nearest pleasure. Again, just pleasure, pain. Oh, this grass is not so great. I'm going to go get another grass. Oh, I got to migrate. I got to find some food elsewhere. We human beings are the same. We're a bit more sophisticated, but we are the same until we develop spiritually. So spiritual development, now I'll try to make the connection. Spiritual development means developing our ability, unique human spiritual ability, to aim towards the future state of development and bring that future state closer to the present. Humans, and the evidence for that, or the outcome of that we can see even in our world, is that humans can aim towards a long-term goal. Baal HaSulam also mentions this in the Freedom article. This is the big difference between humans and animals. It doesn't exist in animals. When an ant plans to store food for the winter, it does all of that instinctively. It's instincts. The animals, they have a different sense of time, and they don't plan for the future. Humans, and I want to linger on the difference here. Humans can consciously aim towards a long-term goal, and they can agree to a certain amount of labor and work and effort in order to achieve a goal that is great enough. And we're still moving towards pleasure, just like the animals, but we are continuously redefining what that future pleasure is. That's the difference between humans and animals. That is spiritual development. That we can constantly redefine what is it that we're aiming for. Mm-hmm. That is something that animals don't have. And that, if you think about it, this characterizes our entire society. What is fashion? Right? What is advertisements and marketing and all? It's something that only humans do because it comes from our innate human ability to redefine what will make us feel good, what will give us pleasure. At the moment, what we think of as pleasure is ultimately, in many cases, leading to war and conflict and exploitation between us. We have to evolve our understanding of pleasure. So this is
even
this
in
is,
this.
Yeah, go ahead. I can go to
You did
for
great.
hours now.
Yeah. I can see you're super excited, and so, I think we're all kind of excited. I can't wait to continue to talk about this. I see we only have 10 minutes left. But you can see, I guess what you're trying to say is that also, if we have this future society ahead of us, some kind of like future goal that maybe we want to achieve, a good, nice, functioning society, that we can aim ourselves towards that and actually achieve it,
Yes.
which
And
is
that society has to do the perfect society we all dream of, the perfect society that John Lennon is singing about and Bob Marley is singing about, and right, like that kind of ideal of a loving society, of a caring society that Seth cautiously mentioned, right? That idea. I mean, this is not new. This exists in the folklore, in the culture, it exists somewhere deep down in every human. There is some hope for that, right? It's just unrealistic. It's childish. It's a utopian
Not only
dream.
that,
It's a
think about life
it,
today, like how there's like no thought of it. It's like nobody
yeah,
thinks there's going
no
to be
serious
peace in
thought
the
of it, at least. Yeah,
no. The
right.
whole world is just amping up towards more war.
yeah.
There's like no thought that it's going to be really good in 5 years.
No hope.
No hope. Yeah, that's that. The loss of hope. That's a
Can
big one.
I
Yeah,
say
yeah.
then I've been
You
holding on
should.
to this, and I wanna I just want to read this. For I didn't actually plan on doing this one, but I think just because it gives us kind of it'll put us in like the shoes of Baal HaSulam, like how important he thought that this whole thing was. And this is just really emotional, this part of the text. And I think it's important to know like where he is coming from and why we also think it's so important. And I think this kind of lets a person feel a little bit. So he says there's an
Ooh,
allegory about
nice.
friends who were lost in the desert, hungry and thirsty. One of them had found a settlement filled abundantly with every delight. He remembered his poor brothers, but he had already drawn far off from them and did not know their whereabouts. What did he do? He began to shout out loud and blow the horn. Perhaps his poor hungry friends would hear his voice, approach him, and come to that settlement that's filled with delight. So is the matter before us. We've been lost in this terrible desert along with all of humanity, and now we found a great, abundant treasure, namely the books of Kabbalah and the treasure. They satisfy our yearning souls and fill us abundantly with lushness and contentment. We are satiated, and there's no more. Yet we remember our friends who were left hopeless in the terrible desert. There's a great distance between us, and words cannot bridge it. For this reason, we've set up this horn to blow it loud so that our brothers might hear and draw near and be as happy as we are. Know, our brothers, our flesh, that the essence of the wisdom of Kabbalah is the knowledge of how the world came down from its elevated state, and that's what you read earlier. So
Yeah.
basically,
Mm-hmm.
he feels such a need. Imagine that you did stumble upon this book. Imagine that you do have this perfect blueprint for society and how it will exist in the future. What do you do? I mean, it's like a burden. It's
Yeah.
like a feeling like I
Yeah.
can't keep my mouth shut. And he even says later on about how he finally decided. What did he say? One second. He's like,
In another article, you mean, or where he
I can't remember.
says,
Yeah, maybe it wasn't
yeah,
here.
that's
Oh, no,
an,
he says it here. He says,
yeah.
I have seen all that and I can no longer hold back. I've resolved to disclose all of my observations of what I found written in these books. So
Right. And
that's it.
this is
I
still
feel like that's what we're
it's in the
doing
same
too.
text.
Yeah.
It's That's in the same
Yeah.
text.
A little bit
That's
later
so
down.
that's so
Mhm.
cool. Just think about it. He writes that I can't hold back anymore and I have to write this, and he writes this to himself. And this is hidden for 80 years until kept by his son, taken by our teacher, and then our friends and our teacher together are like piecing these
I
manuscripts
find I
together.
really many times um, I didn't check every group in the world, but I checked a lot. I didn't find another group, first of all, that's so connected to such authentic sources, and then does this kind of practical work every single day of your life for the rest that's it. You're in it all the time. That being said, it becomes so frustrating sometimes because you see like it, people start criticizing what you're doing, or like, people who watch 3 hours of Netflix a day, or people who spend every weekend shouting outside drinking beer to sports, or whatever. You're doing nothing. All you hoping is that everyone gets along with everyone, and in your own time by yourself, you're hanging out with your own friends studying this thing, but still there's so much antagonism towards it.
Hmm.
And we see for years we've been trying to disseminate this, this show that we do now is like a new way of trying to bring the wisdom of Kabbalah, and we're like a piece of sand on the bottom of Baal HaSulam's shoe compared to like what he felt, and to be at his degree and to have people ratting on you to the government that you're promoting communist propaganda, ratting out to the religious authorities that you're going against the religion. Like, he felt how everyone can be together in this one harmonious existence, and pretty much everyone around him just like the world wasn't ready. And it's so I can't imagine what
Yeah.
it is for a person of that stature to
Hmm.
be in that kind of state. But like on the one hand, it's like you want to give your child. I think in the wisdom of Kabbalah, they call it the sorrow of raising children. Like for example, if you see your child going, everyone here could probably relate to this. Like if you see that your child is going
Hmm.
through a difficult situation, but he has to, like you can stop it and you can actually do it for them, but they'll never really develop if you do. And so you have to
Yeah.
allow them to go through that, and it hurts you even more than it hurts them. But times that by billions probably,
Yeah.
Right.
from his height, to what
Hmm.
he came down to the level of the people. And he saw, when he came to Poland, before World War II, he said to them all, not like a prophet, but he
Hmm.
already saw the book from the future. He said, "This is all going to be over. You're all going to
Yeah.
die. I raised money for you. Come, let's go together. We'll build a small settlement. We'll try amongst us to just try and live cooperatively." They spit on him. None of them left. They all died. Every single one of them died in World War II. I don't know if every single one. The whole communities there died in World War II. Probably
Hmm.
some people escaped. So we're up against, it's just because, someone puts a, $1 billion in your pocket. Okay. It doesn't mean that like every problem is solved tomorrow.
Mm.
So we have this now in our hands, but now what to do? I would have loved to sing a song for you now, but we tried to sound check it. We have a song, just new song right about this. But Chris and I sound checked it before, and there's some problem with so imagine that there's an
I
emotional song right
I have
now,
an
and
idea.
imagine that everybody's feeling connected.
I have an idea. You said you played it in their retreat prep session, so we can play it from there if we find it quickly,
Where do you even get
right?
that? Where's the I don't
I
even
mean,
know
we'll
where you would
find
find
it
that.
in
I think it was
Kabbalahinfo
like
in
a
the
couple days
YouTube.
before we left for Holland.
Yeah, I think I can
Yeah.
find it. I'll find it, and Chris, I'll send you the link. You'll have to play it if we go for that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. Let me know.
Okay, give me a second here.
Mm.
Okay, so you guys talk a bit more, and I'll
Ready,
find
Seth?
it.
I got
Yeah.
Let's fill up
three
the
new
airwaves.
songs. Yeah, three new songs that were recorded in Tel Aviv when I was there. Two like ballads, and then this one, which is
Oh,
more
no way.
uplifting.
I didn't know you were
Yeah.
doing some
Yeah, we went to some
musical work
studio
over
in
there.
Tel Aviv and recorded
Hmm.
three new ones, and this is one of them. This one is kind of more uplifting, but it really comes from this art, from this right when the first day we started studying the book, wrote the lyrics. So, um, Asaf, we close?
Yeah.
If not, we'll wait till next time.
Yeah, we might have to
I'm
wait
still
till next time.
gonna have to receive the
I mean,
link.
it should have been on YouTube, no? Or maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe was it on
Oh,
YouTube?
but I'm gonna mention this. I just got a message from Juan Rico. He said that Kus is in the hospital, so we need to think
Oh,
about him.
Oh.
okay. Let's think about our friend.
Yeah.
Okay,
Think
we
about our
will
issue.
we'll pay you back
Rain check it.
with that song,
Okay.
and let's think about our friend, and let's think about everyone who is either sick in body or spirit, which is pretty much all of humanity, if you think about it that way. I want to read one last bit from the article, um, and this one, just to give hope. Because here's the thing: that I have two quotes left here that I thought about. We could discuss. One of them is depressive. The other one is brings hope. We'll go for the hopeful one, but I just want to
Yeah.
say
Thank you for that.
we'll go for the hopeful one. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because this is another thing you see very clearly in Kabbalists. They're not here to sugarcoat. They're here to really, really, really try to prevent suffering, to prevent human suffering, to prevent more war and bloodshed. And the only way to do it is to align ourselves with nature. And if we align ourselves with nature, then we can be hopeful that we'll reach this. So he says, So he says, beasts do not evolve. They are still in the same state in which they were created. For they do not have, as man does, the mirror by which to see how to correct things and gradually evolve. Man develops day by day until his merit is secured and sensed, and he will ride on the high planets. This is riding on the high planets. This is not poetry. Kabbalists don't sugarcoat, and they don't write poetry unless they mean to. But this is not poetry. This is simply a depiction of the unbelievable level of development that we're destined for, that the Kabbalist is looking from and tells us, hey, my brothers, you're lost in the desert. Come on, let's go. We have a much bigger party to discover, the party of connecting with the governing force of nature. That's what we're destined for as humans. So let's ride the high planets. All right.
Yeah.
Do we have any song?
Well, let's
any
Let's
song we can
let me
play?
see what's where if I can get the song playing. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
I'm pressing play and we don't hear anything. So something weird
We
about
hear it.
this.
We hear it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
We hear it. Yeah. Whatever you're doing, just don't stop doing it. Let's
don't
just
hear
say
it.
I don't hear
goodbye.
it.
I hear it. It's in the.
I don't hear it.
It's in the broadcast.
Okay.
Cool. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whoever hears it. Can't sing along.
Oh no! Wait a minute. It's not in the broadcast. No.
Oh, damn.
Asaf, can you play it?
I can. I can. If you send me the file quickly, I can do it. Even.
Well, it's a link.
Even.
What, you can't do
The
it?
link is in the chat here.
Let me take off.
Yeah, but
share
it's not
one second.
downloadable. I mean the.
No. Right, yeah. You do. He has a problem. He has a problem with that.
Okay.
Why is this weird? Do we just give up? Or, I mean, how long do we go on?
We'll download it quickly. I'll do it 1 second.
Hold on.
Tell us about this song in the meantime.
Can you hear this?
There we go.
You can hear it okay?
Yes.
Okay, friends. We'll
Yeah.
see you on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We love you. We're hugging you. Everybody dream about our future connected life, and we'll see you there.
As on the face the horizon, I know everyone knows there is a happy ending. When our hearts go connecting, feeling once again. Remember when we were once all together as a people and each had love for all the others. We remember when we were all connected as a one nation, bound in love for one another. Peace will reign again. Peace will reign again. Do when things were so easy then. Just as children we went rumbling through the garden. Now it seems alas something has come between us that will not allow one another to feel each other. The winds of war are blowing and we don't wanna go. The winds of war are blowing and we don't wanna go. If we keep our heart together in the dark of night and act so love between us will bring dawn to light. Now we can't deny we need the love to be strong. So when the olive branch falls, we will all be one. Peace will reign again. Peace will reign again. Peace will reign again. Peace will reign again.